Like, bro, it came up just like this, bro. I never
had a bad.
Yeah, bro.
You worked with Glenn a little bit. I mean, you worked alongside like Tyler Hero and Obama.
Is what you're doing is inspiring and motivating. As much as you say like you look up to me, I look up to you.
Honestly, why I started the pod was like have on people like you or people like my dad to just learn from them.
Yeah.
But let's just start from the beginning, dude.
Yeah.
When did you start playing basketball?
Man, so I started really late. I actually didn't start playing basketball until 8th grade. I would say organized basketball, that is. Like, I was outside playing in the neighborhood for quite a bit, but I wasn't playing organized, so I wasn't doing AAU, or I didn't make an official team. So I should say I didn't make a team organized until 8th grade year. So
sure, dude. And we were definitely hooping here.
No, facts. Yeah, no. So this is bringing back memories, like
That's awesome,
being in
dude.
the house. Like, yeah, for sure.
Definitely hooping in the neighborhood was fun. I know your brother too was coming over.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I just remember those days.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of seen it. Like that was, I think around that time, I wasn't like as consistent with organized basketball. So I was just any court I could find, whether it was your house, whatever other house in the neighborhood, I would just go hoop. So it was just open for me.
Yeah. When did you realized like you had a passion for the sport? Like you wanted to start playing in 8th grade.
Yeah.
When did you want to take that next step?
I mean, I think for me, it was realizing like I was terrible at football. And when I say terrible, I was an athlete, but I couldn't really grasp the concept of the sport. So naturally, I think I was trying to follow into the footsteps of my brother. So my brother growing up, he was a big AI fan. So like Allen Iverson. So
Yeah.
I wanted like every other little brother to be like my big brother. So I just started following him and going to playgrounds with him. So I think even before I started playing basketball, I was always around basketball. And I just still remember to this day, I remember the first day my dad got me a Kobe jersey. And so it was number 8. I just remember, man, I probably slept in that jersey for like 7 days, like no lie. I was just that excited. Right. So for me, basketball was always like just this big thing to glorify. And so I would honestly say since I was a kid, my mom had notes of me writing to her like, I want to make it to the NBA. Clearly I didn't, but she had notes of me like, and so that was since I was a kid. So I think I've always been in love like with the purity of the sport since I was a kid, for sure.
Would you say Kobe is your favorite player?
So here's the thing, like Kobe was my favorite player at that time. I think overall Jordan was my favorite player. So I'm a Chicago guy through and through. And so being a Bulls fan, like Jordan just made sense for me. And so I liked Kobe at that time because I think I was able to watch Kobe, but I think naturally, if I could go back in time, I would want to watch Jordan. So Jordan's my favorite. So I want to clear that up. He's my GOAT. Yeah, the GOAT for me.
Undisputed.
At least for me, I'll say. So yeah.
So when did Flourishing Skills Training, like that idea come into mind?
Man, it came into mind when I was in college. I originally went to school. I went for sports management, so I wasn't really sure which way I wanted to go. I knew that. Well, let me backtrack. I did want to go into being an agent, so we went to Lake Central. So I went to school with Glenn. So me thinking like, hey, this might be an easy in. You may be able to network and just see who you're able to meet. But I later found out I was into it for all the wrong reasons. Like I think I was into it for the monetary reasons. Like I just wanted to make a lot of money. But I still am not like, I can't force myself to sell something that I'm not passionate about. And I think sometimes being an agent, you have to do a lot of talking, and naturally that's not my strong suit. I don't like doing a lot of talking. I'm a people person, but I don't enjoy like having to sell things or just, talk to people for a crazy amount of time. And I think that's where it kind of just struck with me. I'd always been good with training kids, but I never felt like I was qualified to do training. So I didn't know for sure if I wanted to be a coach just because I was like, who's going to listen to me? Like, so I couldn't really take myself serious. But my dad just kept telling me, you should get into coaching. Like, you should start training. But at the time, I just thought, man, he's selfishly telling me this because he wants me to train my little brother. So I'm just like, okay, like I'll get into it. And I enjoyed training my little brother and he was getting good at it, but I didn't really see myself actually starting training. So I think I was training my little brother when I was in college. And that was my only client for the longest time. And then I ended up picking up another client because my dad referred somebody to me. And so I get a random call like while I'm at college, and they're like, "Hey, we heard you do training." And I'm like, I don't. I didn't say I don't, but I was just like, all right, I'm gonna see where this goes. And so they ended up having me come out, and I'm training my brother and this other kid, Kyle, which is crazy because Kyle's now a freshman, and I've been training him since he was in third grade. But yeah, it just happened organically. I can honestly say I never wanted to train or never envisioned myself being a trainer, but it just kind of happened organically, and it wouldn't have happened without my dad. I can wholeheartedly say that. If he didn't give me the nudge or push me, I would not be training. I probably would have been trying to do something else. So
That's awesome. You got that support,
yeah,
within and just pushing you to do it, man. It was
yeah,
like similar to like I was doing baseball training a little bit. I was training, my brothers growing up. I just enjoy that process. But one thing about training is like you gotta have, some type of skill to like teach these different type of
yeah.
kids because they learn all differently. So in that regard, like how do you navigate that? How do you train like different types of kids that learn different ways?
I mean, well, one thing I can honestly say, even though I never wanted to train, I've always been good with kids. Like, and I think me working Glenn's camps, like whenever Glenn would come back in the summer, and I don't know, were you doing some of the camps like around that time?
I
Like,
played in them. I
okay, you
didn't help
played.
out with
So
them.
no, you guys were playing in them, and
Yeah.
so for me, I thoroughly enjoyed that. So whenever they would be like, "Man, come and help out," I actually enjoyed seeing younger kids develop just because I felt like I always had an eye for, okay, he can honestly improve on this. But I just enjoy seeing kids who are good at that age kind of just go off because you don't see it that often. And it's just like, man, it's just fun. It's fun gassing them up and like getting them to compete. But I can honestly say I've always been good with kids, regardless of where they're at skill wise. I've always found a way to get the most out of them. And that's just something that came naturally. It wasn't anything that I had to think about or anything that I kind of had to put much thought effort into. So luckily it happened for me that way. Now it is times where I run into, even today, with kids where I'm like, I don't know, Amir, how you going to get this to work? Like, how's this honestly going to work in the grand scheme? But I'm just still just figuring it out as I go. But I can honestly say that's the one thing I've always been pretty solid at, is just knowing how to get the most out of each kid. So
I mean, you said it like you worked with Glenn a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, you worked alongside like Tyler Hero and
Yeah.
Bamba and stuff like that. What's like one piece of advice you got or something you learned from those, NBA star type of guys?
I mean, well, I didn't work with Glenn, but I've been, so shout out to Joey Burden, because Joey Burden was actually the first coach who let me in on his workouts while he was working with Glenn. I believe Glenn was with playing with the Pacers at the time. And so at that time, I was able to kind of go in, and that was my first time seeing a pro workout. And even though it was Glenn, like we went to high school together, I still just had so much respect for his work ethic. And then fast forward like a couple years later, I do a mentorship program with Drew Hanlon. And if you don't know Drew Hanlon, he's worth knowing because he trains Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal,
Gosh.
all these guys. And so every summer in LA, like we get a chance to go out there and actually be in the gym with those guys. And so for me, it was breathtaking. Like being in the gym with Tyler Hero, it was unreal just because we always think we know what work ethic looks like until it's up close in front of you. And so this was the summer before he got his big contract. And I just remember every workout was so intentional, was with such purpose, but it was almost like he was pissed. Like he was mad. Like every workout, he was just like, I deserve a contract. And he worked his butt off for it. And it was no surprise when he got that contract just because I was seeing the hours that he put in to that summer. And for me, I think the biggest thing that I took away just being in the gym with not just Tyler Hero, but what's my guy, Tyrese Halliburton. So like even before he became an all-star, seeing him work out that summer and he blew up. But I think the biggest thing that I kind of took away was just one, having a chip on your shoulder, and then two, just being able to sacrifice because it's summertime and it's a lot of things in LA you can get into, I can say that, but they chose to be in the gym for countless hours of the day, sometimes 2-3 workouts of the day. And so seeing their work ethic and their ability to sacrifice, I think going back home, I just had a different appreciation for what work actually looked like. So
Right. So, I mean, you've trained, over 100 athletes.
Yeah.
You've worked with pro guys. I mean, you've been doing this 4+ years now. To an athlete out there wanting to take the next step, like what's one piece of advice you would give to, an athlete like that?
I would say, man, again, you're going to keep hearing me like just reference back to sacrifice, because I think so many of us, we want things in a sense of, man, I want to go play college basketball. I want to play, professionally. And professionally, let me go on record, not everyone's going to make it to play professionally. Like, that is the hardest thing to do. But I do believe you put yourself in the best position if you're okay with making sacrifices. And so going back to that summer, just seeing, what those players are willing to sacrifice, I think my question to the youth would be, what are you willing to go without? Because, naturally in high school, you got the girls, you got hanging out with your guys, you got video games, you got all of these distractions. And so I think it's no coincidence where those high school players who are like top in the country, when they're excelling at such a high rate, it's no coincidence. They cut off some of those distractions and they answer that question, like, what were they willing to go without? And so for me, it'll always be, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because it does not feel good when you're doing it, but it will all make sense in the bigger picture. And that's not to say, and let me be careful with that, because when I say sacrifice, I want every kid to have balance. I do believe it shouldn't just be all work and no play. But I think when you have a goal and you have a purpose that you feel is bigger than what you envision, I think you have to be willing to make a sacrifice for it. Because even with what I'm doing, if I'm not willing to make a sacrifice for it, I just don't see how it will come into play. And so that's whether you're going to become a professional athlete or you're trying to build your own business. So I just think it all goes hand in hand. And so seeing pros up close, their ability to make a sacrifice is second to none. So to any younger player trying to make that step to the next level, I would say, what are you willing to sacrifice, and go about it that way for me.
That's great advice. Now, bouncing around to like a different topic,
Yeah.
kind of going into business with your Flourishing Skills Training brand organization. What's your kind of vision and goal with that now, since it's like grown so much?
Yeah.
You're popping off on social media, man. You're doing your thing.
Man, that's the thing. I feel like everybody sees like this growth on social media, which is valid for sure. I'm thankful for that. But I still feel like I have so much more room to grow. And so for me, Flourish, it's always been kind of about impacting as many people as we can globally. I think starting out regionally, but I always kind of I knew ultimately my dreams were bigger than Chicago, Northwest Indiana. And so for me, it's always, how many people can you impact? And that impact, I wanted to go beyond the game of basketball. And, I want to create leaders, man, selfless leaders at that, like, who can carry a burden. And so when I say carry a burden, I'm really referencing to, just being able to carry that burden for your family, whether it's financially, because my goal is to obviously create pros, like put them in position to be a pro. But that comes with carrying a burden. And again, maybe getting them to play collegiate level, because not everybody's going to play pro. But if you're able to play collegiate level, again, that's carrying a burden of not having your parents worry about having to pay for college. And so I want to just create leaders, man. And that goes way beyond the game of basketball. So for me, basketball actually comes second. I tell everybody that. I more so care about the person, because if I could create a person who's going to be able to contribute to society, but also just cares about people as a whole, I think the world becomes better. And I know that sounds cliche sometimes, but it's the truth. For me, like, I give a damn about basketball at the end of the day. And it's hard saying that because it's what I love and that's what people come to me for. But I ultimately feel like, how can I get the most out of this person outside of the realms of basketball? Because basketball will take care of itself. Like, if I can figure out how to get this kid to really click or make things make sense for him as a person, everything else will take care of itself. So that's another thing too. I would tell kids, like, don't forget about the element of being a good person. So in terms of the brand and Flourish Skills Training, we just want to create leaders, man. And that's in Northwest Indiana, that's in Chicago, that's in California, that's in North Korea, that's wherever I'm able to touch soil with the basketball court. I'm just utilizing basketball as a tool to do that. So
that's awesome, man. Where the world at is today, like people, we need more people like you, man, trying to create leaders.
I
No, for
appreciate
real,
it.
dude. People actually having good role models.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to find nowadays. And for you to be like a local guy, grew up in, you know, the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
dude, it's for real. Like, honestly, like, I look up to you. Like, it's inspiring to see you stepping out of the norm, creating something on your own, because like that's what comes with starting your own stuff. You're gonna get the backlash, you know, you're gonna get people doubting you. So what, like, how do you navigate like the negativity around, you know, creating something like that?
I would say, man, too, and again, I'm talking to you now, but I would say when you're starting your own business, man, because I know with social media, we glamorize like, man, work for yourself. You can make X amount of dollars. You can make, which is true. I do believe you can really have success working for yourself. But I would tell anybody that it's not easy, man. I think some of the most stressful moments in my life have come during entrepreneurship. But I think the trade-off is worth it. And so if you could kind of put things into focus, and what I mean by that is know your why, like know why you're doing it. And even goes back to my dad, like he always kind of just told me, when it comes to what you're doing, I don't worry about the money. Like I actually worry about that second. Like I worry about the impact first, and then the money will come. And so when you're worried about the impact, you don't really care what anybody else is saying, because you know your heart posture, like you know your heart's in the right place. And so I think for me, I'm at my best when I'm not consumed by the opinions of others. And that's when I'm just focused in, when I can just honestly focus on why I'm doing things and knowing my why. And so I think I've been blessed to have like my, obviously God in my life, but I've been blessed to have my parents who they kind of just tell me like, man, help as many people as you can, and then everything else will take care of itself. And I can honestly say that, man, because some of the people that I've been able to meet and some of the people who've been able to help me is they've been blessings, but it all started out just because I wanted to help them. And so I think it makes it easy, but entrepreneurship is not easy. I will I will say that, like, it's not easy, man. It's tough, but I just think if you can stay in there and stay consistent and find a way to push through, and you know why you're doing it, because it was so many times, bro, where I wanted to walk away or where I wanted to quit, and I was just like, dude, this isn't for me. I'm just like, man, I want to stay in here, but I just don't see it, because to be honest, the dollars wasn't equaling, the followers wasn't equaling dollars. So even right now on social media, like I'm growing, but I'm still questioning like, all right, when is my money going to start, you know, coming in? So it's just, again, remembering that I didn't necessarily get into it to make this crazy amount. I think that's going to come organically in general, but I got into it to impact people. And so knowing my why, it makes it easier to kind of block out the noise in terms of negativity, or just times where it's like, man, I'm maybe not feeling my best or questioning why I'm even doing it. It just makes it a whole lot easier when I know why I started this, and having kids like who are reaching out to me like, man, hey, you inspired me like to keep going, bro, or just, man, you helped me so much. It really lets me know like, okay, you have purpose doing this. And I tell all my kids, I'm like, you guys look up to me like I look up to you guys, because you guys are telling me like, hey, I'm helping you, and you guys just don't know how much you're helping me, like helping me keep pushing forward. So I ultimately think whenever you're helping somebody else like accomplish their dreams and their goals, you're doing that for yourself too. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That is really cool. Now bouncing around to like the next one. I saw you have like an FST brand, clothing brand.
Yeah.
Like, what, you got some cool merch on there, man. What's kind of your vision with that?
Man, my vision is to be one of the biggest like athletic and streetwear apparel brands, while also collaborating with New Balance. So I've always felt like hoops and, you know, just clothing in general, they go hand in hand. And so we look on social media, like we got the walkway where they're doing like whatever Shay's wearing, because Shay's hot right now, so his fits are fire. So it's just like I always had an appreciation for that. But I also too, I loved Nike growing up, but I'm gonna be honest, like I couldn't really always afford like Nike and everything like that, just because, man, it was 7 of us, so it was hard getting everybody. It was hard getting
Big household.
No, yeah. So you know exactly what's that like, and so having, you know, trying to get Nike everything, it's just like, dude, you can't have Nike everything. So at one point I was just like, dude, I'm just gonna start creating my own stuff just so I could wear it. And for me, I always just envisioned being able to wear my own stuff. And then it started out with me wearing it. And then my clients, like, as long as my clients wear it, I ultimately feel like I'm cool with it because they have an appreciation for it. But I think I want it to expand. I want it to be bigger. And my dream is to collaborate with New Balance. And so I've been telling everybody this year, I'm like, I'm knocking on their door. Like, they're going to have to hear me somehow. So
yeah, New Balance, check them out.
exactly. Man, every outside of the Nike stuff, this is like the first capsule. But outside of this, all I wear is New Balance. So that's why I'm like, man, if I can get in there and collaborate with them, and I also want to collaborate with them as a designer in terms of shoes too, because I'm really into shoes, and like anybody who knows me, like all my shoes are New Balance. And so if I could get in there and just start creating some stuff, but also be one of the first trainers, like official trainers that they bring on for basketball, that would be dope. And so I really just see me going that way, just creating a brand that people can wear for basketball, but even people who don't play basketball, I want them to be able to wear it too, because I'm big on clothes telling a story, not just wearing things that, you know, maybe you can't even relate to, but I like things that are, one, fashionable, but you know, they tell a story. And so I think New Balance does a good job with that, with some of their collaborations with Joe Fresh Goods, with AIM. And so I think I could do that for the basketball line as well. So yeah, I think I want to see where that goes. And so I got a few ideas, man, cooking up. So I'm excited to see kind of where it goes this year. So
that's awesome, man. I'm a big New Balance guy myself.
Yeah.
My 50s.
Yeah, no, they're fire.
I got probably 4 or 5 different pairs.
So I love like seeing everybody getting into New Balance, like, cause man, they've kind of blown up, and I love that, cause it's just, I feel like New Balance was always a sleeper. I'm like, man, it was a sleeper shoe, and the fact that people are like getting hip to it, I just want to see them do a little bit better. No, not to the Kawhis, but they're not my favorite hooping shoe. But I definitely feel like if I'm in there creating shoes, I could create something that's dope. So I wanna see it come to life. So.
Yeah, New Balance. I mean, the 550s are affordable.
Yeah, no, they are
not ridiculously priced, like decently priced. The most comfy shoes I've worn.
Yeah, they are
550s.
They're really comfortable. I mean, they're a running shoe, and actually, like if I'm not working out or if I'm not in the gym, I have really flat feet too, so I have to be in something that I can stand and walk around in. And so New Balance was the only shoe that really did it for me. When I was younger, I was really into Jordans, but again, no knock to Jordan, they're not the most comfortable on my feet. Oh my God. So I got rid of mine.
Yeah, dude. Jordans are not comfortable.
No, at all.
Flat out say it, dude. Like, I was a sneakerhead growing up. I had boxes and boxes of Jordans. I was waiting in lines at Finish Line at the mall down there, dude, trying to get the 4s and 5s.
Yeah.
All different colorways, but I'll tell you what, you cannot hoop in them.
That's the thing. People are like so amazed, and I'm like, if you're a hooper and you're hooping in Jordan shoes, you do not care about your feet, because literally you're just asking for an injury. I'm just like, it makes no sense. So
bloody heels,
it's bad. So
what's your go-to hooping shoe?
So again, right now I would say the Nike. They just released a model. I feel terrible. I want to say they're the Sabrinas. I'm going to say that. I think so. But they're very comfortable. Very comfortable on my feet. I would almost say they're slightly more comfortable than the Kobe. And it's, again, I know people are going to crucify me for that. But again, it's just because I have flat feet. So it takes me a while for my foot to break in. But the first time that I hooped and wore the Sabrinas, my foot was like, it felt right at home. So that for me is the most comfortable shoe that I'm rocking right now. I can't speak for everybody else, but the KD Galaxy 4s just dropped, all-star ones. So I wanted them in high school and I couldn't get them. So I'm probably going to double back and grab those now. But anything Nike, that's probably what I'm going to hoop in up until I get a New Balance deal. Like once I get a New Balance deal.
Design your own.
Yeah, until I design my own, I'm going to be wearing Nike.
Amir 1.
Yeah, exactly. FST ones, Amir 1s, or whatever they want to call it. But we got to get a shoe, because I don't know, just the Kawhis, they don't do it for me, man. But I think I would be willing to try it, but I got to see it. But for me, I've been wearing Nike since I was in high school, man. And I'm a brand loyalty guy. So once I'm like hooked, I'm stuck. So it's just hard for me to put my foot in anything other than a Nike shoe right now. Hooping wise, I'd say.
I still got I hoop around, here and there, and I'm always the Kobe guy.
Yeah.
I die.
See?
Always.
Hey, again, but Kobe's like that. I always feel like Kobe's giving me extra power. If I pull up to a run in Kobe, I might go for 30. Like, no, seriously, it's just, I got the Mamba mentality. So if I got some Kobe's on, yeah, you're going to be here for a long night if you're guarding me. But, in general, I just like the Sabrinas, man. But Kobe's are a great hoop and shoe. And I love the fact that they're coming out with more colorways and they're making them more affordable for the kids because they enjoy Kobe as well. So I think they should get to kind of, have some of those moments that we had growing up where it was like the excitement of being able to hoop in Kobe's and not having to pay an arm and a leg for it. So, but yeah.
Dude, so do you hoop still nowadays? Like, what do you in a men's league?
Barely, man. I'm getting back into it slowly just because I trained my younger brother, and so I always told him he won't be able to beat me until he's 18. So he's 15 right now. So he's on my heels though. He's really good. But I pretty much just try to stay in shape for him. But I told myself this summer, I said, I'm going to dedicate myself to really focusing on my body, focusing on playing and just getting back to where I need to be. But I haven't really hooped consistently in a while, but I enjoy it, just maybe not as much as I used to, because for the longest time, I really couldn't even hoop with the same enjoyment. So it took me a while to get back into it, but I'm trying to get there slowly but surely. I'm getting there. So,
personal question, you don't have to ask or answer, but like your brother hooping, what's his career looking like? Like you said, he's getting pretty good.
Yeah,
training with him a little bit. How's his career going?
Man, he's a freshman at Simeon. I don't know if you know like the background of Simeon, but Simeon is where Derrick Rose went to high school, Jabari Parker and Kendrick Nunn. So all of those guys played in the NBA. Simeon has a long list of greats, and he's there now. And so I say all that to say that I believe my brother is very special, and we felt this way since he's been a kid. I personally think his ceiling, he's going to go play. You can put me on record saying this. He's going to go play at a Division I school for basketball. It's just him finding a way to connect the dots right now, but he's had tremendous success at an early age, which is cool to see because it's not something that I had. But he's been having a lot of success, but I also am grateful for the peaks and valleys that he's had this season, because although he's had some games this season where he dropped 30, he's also had games where he had 2. And so it's back to the drawing board for us. And he's going to be really good, man, I think when it's all said and done. But I don't tell him that right now. So he might see this, but I don't tell him that right now just because I still want him to understand he has a long way to go. His goal is to make it to play professionally. And, man, if God willing, I would love that. And I think it definitely is a possibility. But my message would be the same thing to him. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because with every good player, you have to be willing to give up something. So I see him. Again, I think his ceiling is the Division I level. Now, wherever he decides to go after that is totally on him. But I definitely see him playing at a Division I school for basketball. His heart is in it, man. He has the confidence. He has the work ethic. He's just young, so he's dealing with some maturity stuff right now. But I think once he kind of gets that out of the way, he's going to be okay, man. So I definitely recommend checking him out while tickets are affordable. So I'll say
that. Yeah. Check him out for sure, dude.
Yeah.
How fun is it to be able to train your brother? Like, is it kind of like a little bit difficult? Like you got that dynamic older brother. He's like, I don't want to Amir. Like, how does he take in that training from you?
Man, it's a gift and a curse, man. I say a gift because this is like my second shot. But I say that, but I don't want it to come off as I'm living through him, because I always tell him, man, whatever decision you make, we're going to live with it and I'm going to love you regardless. So I enjoy seeing him play because he has everything that I didn't. Like, I had all the skill, I just didn't have his confidence. Like, his confidence is through this world. And so I think with anything, you have to have confidence. So seeing him like go out there and like, he talks crazy to me. Like, he thinks he's better than me. He's not. But seeing how he's just willing to go out there and go at anybody, regardless of rank, regardless of status, man, it's amazing to look at, because I've seen him in the midst of like 700, 800 kids. He's come out of the camp within the top 10 or top 20. And so I don't think he's able to do that if he doesn't have his level of confidence. So knowing that I've been able to help him get to that get to that point, man, it's unreal, like being his brother sometimes. But I would say on the flip side of that, it's also frustrating because he is my most difficult client to work with. Like, so although like the trade-off is the most enjoyable because like, man, this is my brother, like I get to brag on him being my brother. It's also sometimes where I'm just like, dude, you don't listen, like you don't get it. I need you to understand, I need you to get it. But it just goes to the maturity thing, and it's hard, man. I tell anybody, it's like you've done practices with your dad, right? And it's like we all get to that point where it's like, all right, Dad, I've been hearing your voice all these years. I don't want to hear it anymore. I got it. And so that's tough navigating it. Now, I will say he hasn't gotten to that point where he's blocked me out or shutting me out, but it's times where it's like pulling teeth and I'm having to talk to him more, but I enjoy that aspect. So I'm not really a yeller where I'm like yelling at him or getting on him. It's more so now I'm talking to him so he can connect the dots and so he can start to understand, okay, this is why I need you to do these things so that everything else can be taken care of. And to his credit, I will say when I talk to him, he actually listens now. He's at that age where he can take things in and he can listen. He's still working on the applying part, but he is listening and taking things in. And it's pretty cool too, like when your younger brother just has this look in his eyes when you're talking to him, and it's like he's like hanging on every word. And I'm just like, dude, it comes with it. That comes with the burden itself because I'm like, man, I have to watch how I move just on a day-to-day basis because it's so much bigger than me. Like I want to make sure that I'm setting the example for him. And so, but it's a cool feeling, man, just knowing like my little brother looks up to me. If nobody else looks up to me, my little brother looks up to me. So it's pretty cool, man. I enjoy it, but there are times where I'm just like, I don't want to train this guy today, man. He's annoying. I don't want to train him, but I love him to death, man. And so I'm always going to train him, and I just want to see him. I want to see him accomplish everything he wants to accomplish, not what I want him to accomplish, whatever he wants to accomplish. And like I always tell him, whatever he wants to do, I'm behind him full-fledged. So.
You mentioned mindset and taking skills out of basketball.
Yeah.
Like how important is it to have like a different type of mindset, that confidence you said your brother's got? Like that's hard to teach.
Yeah.
Even if like maybe you could teach that, but like how important is the mindset just in the sport of basketball in general?
Man, I think it's so important, like not even with sports, just in life. And I think with anything, you have to believe, like, and that starts in the mind. I think any idea, it has to manifest in the mind and then you bring it to life. And so it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, either you have it or you don't. I do believe we can teach confidence. It's just a way you go about it because every kid is different. And honestly, that's why I believe I've stuck with training as long as I have, because I've noticed how I've been able to pour into kids and give them confidence. And so I think the mindset is the most important thing. Like we always say, the game is maybe 90% mental and everything else is 10%, because if you conquer this, you conquer everything else. And so it's knowing how to do that. So I'm a huge advocate for like reading like self-help books. And so one of the better books that I read that helped me last year was The Power of Positive Thinking. So if you haven't read that, I would highly recommend checking it out. And it just goes to talk about how like we can reinforce things in our mind. And, you know, before it happens in the physical, it has to happen in the mental. And so I would say to anybody who's listening, anybody who's watching, always figure out a way to build positive thoughts. And even with some of my pro clients, like you would be surprised how often we just talk about the mental aspect, because they're dealing with a lot, man. They're dealing with contracts, they're dealing with stress, they're dealing with so much that it's not the playing the sport. Like that comes easy, but what do you do when your mind is everywhere else but a basketball court, you know? And so it's figuring out a way to manage like life, sports, whatever else you have going on mentally, and then conquering everything else in real time. So I'm a huge advocate for like, man, working on the mental space, because again, it's hard to pour from an empty cup and it's hard to perform when mentally you're not there. And so having confidence is just one element of it, but knowing how to, I would say, man, knowing how to ride that roller coaster, because with sports it's always highs but it's always lows, and that's why I love sports too. It teaches so much about life. But yeah, it's 100%, man. It's knowing how to navigate this, because if you can navigate mentally with entrepreneurship, with sports, with relationships, whatever the case may be, you're able to conquer more things. And it does take, I feel like it takes a lifetime to really get there. Some people naturally have it quicker than others. My brother is someone whose confidence has come easy, but I've seen him this year struggle with confidence. So that's not to say he doesn't ever struggle. And I've had to remind him, like, no, you are who you say you are. Like, you say you're the best, you are that. Like, you have to believe that. And regardless of what the outcome may be, whether you win or lose, still believe that and hold on to it. So it 100%, man, it starts in the mind, and it's knowing how to just navigate it all. And it's no perfect book that teaches us how to navigate it, man, but it's just kind of trial and error and figuring out how to talk yourself through things. And so mentally, you got to be okay upstairs in order for you to conquer anything. So
that's fascinating, dude. I think it's so important nowadays. I mean, me and my dad talk about like the self-help books all the time,
yeah.
like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, it's a great one.
Great book. I mean, but all those books essentially come back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got to believe in yourself. You got to have that correct mindset.
Yeah.
Don't talk, get the negative energy out, really focus on the positive energy. And I mean, take sports out of it. Like, it's just great life.
Just life. Yeah.
It relates, and to everybody can relate to that. And I just think, where the world is now, I think it's so important to just analyze that and just focus on the positivity in your life.
Yeah, 100%.
And just block out that negative stuff. But last question here, man.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
No, I appreciate it, man. Big time.
Is there anything you're working else? Anything you got else going on, or kind of?
Yeah, man. So this is everything else that I have going on. I'm gonna be pretty soon, man, transitioning to move to LA. So
Oh shit.
yeah, so
Okay.
I'm gonna be transitioning to move out there to train. And so that's been something that's new for me, man. The scene out there is completely different, and when I say globally, it all start to make sense as we go back and look at this. But my impact, it goes way beyond like Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland, and knowing that I can go out there and have impact as well, it's something that's really cool. And so I'm really excited about doing that. I'll be moving in July, and I'll be working with a really good friend of mine, Sean Kalani. She's an amazing trainer. And just having the opportunity to go out there and grow and do the same thing, just on a bigger scale, because LA is really big and they have a lot of kids, man, who are really skilled. So I'm thankful, man, to be able to do that. And I'm really excited about it. I've been keeping it under wraps. I haven't told too many people, and I'm starting, because it didn't seem real at first. And I'm starting to kind of just embrace it. Like, no, you are doing some pretty cool things. Like, it's okay to celebrate it, and it's okay to be excited about it. And yeah, so for me, it's just knowing that I have that coming up, and it's just preparing myself mentally for it, because it's a lot. It's a transition. It's a change. I'm moving, like I said, from Northwest Indiana to LA. And if you don't know, like, LA is California in general is one of the most expensive states in the country. But I ultimately just feel like what I'll be able to do out there, I'll be able to 10x what I'm doing here. And so I'm thankful for that, and it's a blessing, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm really just excited about this year too, because I think along with training, along with the brand, and just being able to connect and network with different people out there and in different spaces, I really am excited for things that are to come. And so this is the first year where I can say that, man, where I'm just really super excited, and I'm starting to see, God connect some of the dots and make things happen in a big way. And that's not to say he wasn't. I couldn't make sense of it. But yeah, just seeing things happen in a big way. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Like, congrats to you.
Yeah.
Like, you got my full support, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Flourishing Skills Training, dude. Check out the website.
I
Check
appreciate
out it. Dude. He's the man. Dude, you got my support. I'm watching what you do, following your stuff, checking out your merch. I can't thank you enough for doing this, bro. It would mean the world to me, really. Like,
and seriously, bro, let me like be on camera saying this too, man, because what you're doing is inspiring and motivating. As much as you say like you look up to me, I look up to you, man. Like seeing your growth. I think I told you this in the DMs, like seeing your growth like as a man and stepping into that role and doing the things that you're doing, like it's inspiring. And I think one of the things that I want people to know is inspiration doesn't have an age. So it doesn't matter if you're younger than me, older than me, I'm learning from you. And so I want to get behind a camera and start doing different things from an editing standpoint, and seeing you do it, I'm like, dude, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? And so it's inspirational, bro. And so you just never know the people you're going to impact and inspire through doing stuff like this, man. So my message to you is, one, I'm proud as hell of you, but keep going, bro. I definitely see this growing because we don't have too many things like this in our area. And so you having a platform where people can come in and it's just a genuine relationship that you're building with people, I see this taking off, bro. So let me be the first to tell you, keep going. So
dude, that means so much to me.
Yeah.
Dude, let's do this again.
Yeah,
Link up, we get to LA. We could come down.
Next time we got to do it out there.
Right, definitely. I'll make the trip out there. But dude, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Flourishing Skills Training, dude. Check out Amir.
Appreciate you guys,
man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, yes sir, man. Yeah, all day, bro.